The year was 2150, and the air buzzed with excitement at the Galactic Ship Expo. This was no ordinary event. It was the first time humans from Earth were taking part. The expo hall was huge, filled with all sorts of alien species. They came from all corners of the galaxy to show off their best ships. Dr. Sarah Chen, the leader of the human team, looked around with wide eyes. She and her team had worked hard for this day. They knew their ship was different, very different, but would the aliens understand? Sarah took a deep breath and tried to calm her nerves. The expo started with a bang. One by one, alien species showed their ships. The Zorblaxians presented a ship that looked like a silver arrow. It was sleek and shiny. The crowd oohed and awed. Next came the Quetzar Empire with their star-shaped vessel. Its points glowed with strange energy. Again, the crowd was impressed. As Sarah watched, she noticed a pattern. All the alien ships were smooth and aerodynamic. They looked fast and elegant. Some were so shiny you could see your face in them. Others had strange curves that seemed to bend light itself. But they all had one thing in common. They were beautiful in a way that everyone understood. Finally, it was Earth's turn. Sarah nodded to her team. They pulled off the giant cover hiding their ship. There was a moment of silence. Then, chaos broke out. The human ship looked nothing like the others. It wasn't sleek or shiny. Instead, it was a mess of shapes and parts. One side had big bubble-like structures. The other had long, tentacle-like appendages. The top was flat in some places and bumpy in others. And the colors. It wasn't one smooth color, but a patchwork of different shades. The alien crowd didn't know how to react. Some laughed, thinking it was a joke. Others looked worried, as if the humans had lost their minds. A few just stared, too shocked to do anything. "What is that thing?" a tall blue alien asked. His voice was a mix of disgust and curiosity. "It looks like it was made from space junk," another alien shouted. This got more laughs from the crowd. Sarah and her team exchanged glances. They had expected this reaction, but it still stung a little. However, they also saw something else in the crowd: curiosity. Not everyone was laughing. Some aliens were leaning in, trying to get a better look. One small green alien with big eyes pushed to the front. "How does it fly?" he asked, his voice full of wonder. Sarah smiled. This was their chance. She stepped forward, ready to explain. But before she could start, a loud voice boomed through the expo hall. "Is this what humans call a spaceship?" The voice belonged to a Zorkath, a species known for their advanced technology and arrogance. "It looks like something a child would draw." The Zorkath's words got more laughs, but Sarah didn't let it bother her. She knew what their ship could do. "Looks can be deceiving," she said calmly. "Would you like a closer look?" The Zorkath sneered but came closer. As he did, Sarah began to explain. She pointed out features that weren't obvious at first glance. The bubble structures were advanced sensors, more powerful than anything else at the expo. The tentacle-like parts could change shape, adapting to different environments. As Sarah talked, the laughter died down. More and more aliens gathered around, listening. They still looked confused, but now there was respect in their eyes too. "But why make it look so strange?" someone asked. Sarah grinned. "Because space is strange," she said. "We designed our ship to work with space, not against it. Every odd shape, every weird color, has a purpose." The expo hall was quiet now. The aliens were starting to see the human ship in a new light. It wasn't pretty, but it was interesting. And in space, interesting could mean the difference between life and death. As the day went on, more aliens came to see the human ship. They asked questions, took pictures, and whispered among themselves. The human team answered every question, proud of their creation. By the end of the day, the human ship was the talk of the expo. It hadn't won any beauty contests, but it had won something more important: respect. The galaxy had seen that humans think differently, and in the vast, unknown reaches of space, different thinking could be the key to survival. As Sarah and her team packed up for the day, she felt proud. They had shocked the galaxy, yes, but they had also shown that humans were a species to watch. Who knew what other surprises they might bring to the stars? The Galactic Ship Expo was just the beginning. The real test would come later, when ships had to prove themselves in the harsh reality of space. But for now, Sarah was content. They had made their mark. The galaxy would never look at human engineering the same way again. The second day of the Galactic Ship Expo dawned bright and early. The huge expo hall was buzzing with excitement. Aliens from all over the galaxy were eager to learn more about the strange human ship they had seen yesterday. Dr. Sarah Chen and her team arrived early. They knew today was important. It was their chance to explain their wild design to the galaxy. Sarah took a deep breath and smiled at her team. "Ready to blow some alien minds?" she asked. They all nodded, excited and a bit nervous. As the expo opened, aliens of all shapes and sizes rushed to the human section. Some looked curious, others skeptical. A few even looked angry, as if the human ship offended them somehow. Sarah stepped up to a small stage in front of their ship. She tapped the microphone, and the crowd fell silent. "Welcome, everyone," Sarah said, her voice calm and clear. "Yesterday, you saw our ship. Today, we'll show you why it looks the way it does." She pressed a button, and a big screen lit up behind her. It showed pictures of Earth's oceans. "On our planet," Sarah explained, "we have creatures that live in the deepest parts of our oceans. These places are a lot like space, dark, cold, and full of pressure." The screen showed a jellyfish floating gracefully in the water. "This is a jellyfish," Sarah said. "It doesn't look very impressive, does it? But it can survive in places that would crush a submarine." The aliens murmured, looking at the jellyfish with new interest. Sarah continued, showing more sea creatures, strange fish with big eyes, octopuses that could change color, and deep-sea creatures that looked more alien than some of the expo visitors. "Our ship," Sarah said, pointing to their strange creation, "is inspired by these creatures. We didn't try to fight space. We decided to work with it, just like these animals work with the ocean." She walked over to the ship and touched its bumpy surface. "This hull isn't smooth for a reason," she explained. "These bumps and ridges help us move through space more efficiently. They also help protect us from space debris." An alien raised a tentacle. "But what about the dangly bits?" it asked, pointing to the tentacle-like structures on the ship. Sarah grinned. "Ah, those are my favorite part," she said. She pressed another button, and the dangly bits started to move. They twisted and turned, changing shape. The crowd gasped. "These can change shape to help us navigate different environments," Sarah explained. "They can also collect solar energy, repair damage to the ship, and even help us communicate with other species." The aliens were silent now, watching in amazement as Sarah and her team demonstrated more features of their ship. They showed how the bubble-like structures were actually advanced sensors, how the patchwork colors helped regulate temperature, and how the ship could change its shape slightly to adapt to different gravity situations. As the presentation went on, the mood in the crowd changed. The laughter and mockery from yesterday were gone. Now, there was respect in their eyes. Some were even taking notes. Towards the end, a tall, important-looking alien stepped forward. "Dr. Chen," he said, his voice deep and rumbling. "I must admit, I thought your ship was a joke yesterday. But now I see it's a work of genius." Sarah blushed a little but stood tall. "Thank you," she said. "We believe that sometimes the best solutions don't always look pretty." As the day went on, more and more aliens came to see the human ship. They asked questions, took pictures, and even asked to touch it. Sarah and her team answered every question patiently, proud of their creation. By the end of the day, The human ship was no longer the laughingstock of the expo. It was the star. Aliens were talking about it everywhere, discussing its features and wondering what other surprises humans might have. As Sarah and her team packed up for the day, she felt a sense of victory. They had done more than just present a ship. They had changed how an entire galaxy thought about space travel. "Good job, everyone," Sarah said to her team. They all looked tired but happy. But remember, this is just the beginning. Tomorrow, we show them what this baby can really do. The team cheered, their excitement drowning out the noise of the expo. They had stunned the galaxy with their design. Now, it was time to show what their wild human ship could really do. The third day of the Galactic Ship Expo started with a bang. Literally, a loud explosion sound made everyone jump. It came from the stage where the Zorkath, a proud alien race known for their advanced technology, were showing off their latest battlecruiser. "Behold," shouted the Zorkath leader, a tall, purple-skinned alien named Zaxlor, the most powerful ship in the galaxy. The crowd oohed and awed as the Zorkath ship fired its weapons, creating a dazzling light show. Dr. Sarah Chen and her human team watched from their booth, impressed but not scared. "Flashy," Sarah muttered, "but can it adapt?" As if hearing her, Zaxlor turned towards the human booth. His eyes narrowed. "Ah, the humans," he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Still proud of your, what did you call it? Jellyfish ship?" The crowd laughed, but not as much as before. Many aliens had seen the human presentation yesterday and were now curious about the strange ship. Sarah stepped forward, a calm smile on her face. "We are proud," she said. "Our ship might not be flashy, but it's effective." Zaxlor's face turned a deeper shade of purple. He didn't like being challenged. "Effective?" he scoffed. "That pile of space junk couldn't outrun a meteor." The expo hall went quiet. Everyone could feel the tension building. Sarah's team looked worried, but she kept her cool. "Want to bet on that?" Sarah asked, her eyes twinkling with confidence. Zaxlor's antenna twitched in surprise. "What do you mean, human?" Sarah spread her arms wide, addressing the whole crowd. "I propose a challenge," she said loudly. "A race. Your battlecruiser against our jellyfish. Through an asteroid field, a radiation belt, and a zone of gravitational anomalies." The crowd gasped. It was a dangerous course, designed to test a ship's speed, durability, and adaptability. Many considered it suicide to race through such hazards. Zaxlor laughed, but it sounded a bit forced. "You're joking, right? Your ship would fall apart before it left the starting line." But Sarah didn't back down, afraid to lose to a pile of space junk. She teased. The crowd went wild. Aliens started shouting, some supporting the Zorkath, others curious to see what the humans could do. The expo organizers huddled together, discussing rapidly. Finally, the head organizer, a wise old alien named Shinta, stepped up. "We accept this challenge," he announced. "The race will take place tomorrow. It will be broadcast live across the galaxy." Zaxlor's confident smile faltered for a moment, but he quickly recovered. "Fine," he growled. "Prepare to be humiliated, humans." As the crowd dispersed, buzzing with excitement about the upcoming race, Sarah's team gathered around her. "Are you sure about this, boss?" asked Mike, her chief engineer. "We haven't even tested the ship in real space conditions yet." Sarah nodded, her face serious but determined. "I know it's a risk," she said, "but this is our chance to show the galaxy what humans can do. We've run all the simulations. Our ship can handle it." The team looked nervous but excited. They had worked hard on this ship, poured their hearts and souls into it. Now was their chance to prove its worth. As they started preparing for the race, news spread quickly. Soon, reporters from all over the galaxy were swarming the human booth, asking questions and taking pictures. "Dr. Chen," one reporter called out, "what made you challenge the Zorkath? Don't you know their ships are the fastest in the galaxy?" Sarah smiled at the camera. "Sometimes the race isn't about being the fastest," she said. "It's about being the smartest." Another reporter pushed forward. "But your ship looks so fragile. Aren't you worried about the dangers?" "Life is full of dangers," Sarah replied. "Especially in space. Our ship is designed to handle the unexpected. That's what makes it special." As the day went on, excitement built across the expo. Aliens made bets, argued about which ship would win, and speculated about the humans' strange design. The Zorkath team could be seen working furiously on their ship, probably making last-minute adjustments. By the end of the day, the human team was exhausted but ready. Their ship, which had been a laughingstock just 2 days ago, was now the center of attention. Win or lose, they had already changed how the galaxy saw human engineering. As Sarah looked at her ship, gleaming under the expo lights, she felt a mix of pride and nervousness. Tomorrow would be the real test. But whatever happened, they had already accomplished something amazing. They had made the galaxy sit up and take notice of humanity. "Get some rest, everyone," Sarah told her team. "Tomorrow, we race the stars." The day of the big race dawned, and the entire galaxy seemed to hold its breath. The Galactic Ship Expo had been transformed overnight. A huge screen hung in the center of the expo hall, ready to broadcast the race. Aliens of all shapes and sizes crowded around, eager to watch. Dr. Sarah Chen and her team arrived early, their faces a mix of excitement and nerves. They had spent the night doing final checks on their ship, which they had nicknamed Jellyfish. "Ready, team?" Sarah asked, looking at each of her crew members. They nodded, determination in their eyes. "Let's show them what humans can do," said Mike, the chief engineer. On the other side of the expo, the Zorkath team strutted in, led by Zaxlor. Their shiny battle cruiser gleamed under the lights. Zaxlor shot a smug look at the human team. "Prepare to eat our stardust, humans," he sneered. Sarah just smiled calmly. "May the best ship win," she replied. The two ships were transported to the starting line, a point in space just outside a dense asteroid field. The race course was visible on the big screen, showing the asteroid field, followed by a radiation belt, and ending with a zone of gravitational anomalies. Sinta, the head organizer, floated up to the podium. "Racers, start your engines," he announced. The crowd cheered as both ships hummed to life. The Zorkath ship's engines glowed bright blue, while the human ship pulsed with a soft, bioluminescent light. 3, 2, 1, go, Shinta shouted. The Zorkath ship shot forward like a bullet, quickly taking the lead. The crowd gasped at its speed, but the human ship wasn't far behind, moving with a strange, fluid grace. As they entered the asteroid field, the real test began. The Zorkath ship zipped between the asteroids, its advanced sensors helping it find the fastest route. But the human ship did something unexpected. Instead of avoiding the asteroids, it seemed to flow around them. Its hull rippled and shifted, allowing small rocks to bounce off harmlessly. For larger asteroids, tentacle-like protrusions gently pushed the ship away, using the asteroid's own momentum to gain speed. "Incredible," the announcer shouted. "The human ship is using the asteroids to its advantage." In the expo hall, aliens watched in amazement. The human ship was slowly but surely catching up to the Zorkath cruiser. As they exited the asteroid field, the Zorkath ship was still in the lead, but not by much. Now they faced the radiation belt, a dangerous zone that could fry a ship's systems. The Zorkath ship activated its shields, a blue bubble surrounding it, but the radiation was intense, and the shield flickered, slowing the ship down. The human ship, however, did something astonishing. Its hull began to change color, turning a deep iridescent purple. As it entered the radiation belt, the harmful rays seemed to be absorbed by the hull, causing it to glow. "Unbelievable," the announcer cried. "The human ship is using the radiation as an energy source. Inside the jellyfish, Sarah and her team worked calmly, monitoring systems. "Hull integrity at 100%, reported Mike. "We're actually gaining power from the radiation." The human ship surged forward, overtaking the struggling Zorkath cruiser. As they exited the radiation belt, Jellyfish was now in the lead. The crowd in the expo hall went wild. Aliens who had bet on the humans cheered, while others watched in shocked silence. But the race wasn't over yet. The final challenge loomed ahead, the gravitational anomaly zone. This area of space was full of unpredictable gravitational pulls, capable of tearing the ship apart. The Zorkath ship entered first, its powerful engines fighting against the gravitational forces. It was pushed and pulled, struggling to stay on course. Then the human ship entered. To everyone's surprise, it seemed to dance through the anomalies. Its strange asymmetrical shape allowed it to spin and twist, using the gravitational forces to slingshot itself forward. This is unprecedented." The announcer was almost speechless. "The human ship is treating the gravitational anomalies like a parkour course." In the expo hall, even Xinta was leaning forward, his eyes wide with wonder. "Remarkable," he muttered. "Simply remarkable." As the finish line approached, both ships gave it their all. The Zorkath cruiser's engines blazed, pushing it to its limits. But the human ship, riding the gravitational waves, surged ahead. In a final, graceful move, Jellyfish crossed the finish line, seconds before the Zorkath ship. The expo hall erupted in cheers. Aliens jumped and shouted, amazed by what they had just witnessed. The human team hugged each other, tears of joy in their eyes. "We did it," Sarah cried, hugging Mike. "We really did it." As the ships returned to the expo, it was clear that history had been made. The humans hadn't just won a race. They had revolutionized space travel. The galaxy would never be the same again. The expo hall was in chaos. Aliens of all shapes and sizes were talking excitedly, their voices creating a storm of noise. The big screen still showed the race results. The human ship Jellyfish had won by a narrow margin. Dr. Sarah Chen and her team were surrounded by reporters and curious aliens. Everyone wanted to know more about the strange human ship that had just changed the game. "Dr. Chen, how does your ship's adaptive hull work?" one reporter shouted. "Can you explain the bioluminescent propulsion system?" another asked. Sarah held up her hands, trying to calm the crowd. "One at a time, please," she said with a smile. "We're happy to answer questions, but first, we need to check on our ship." As if on cue, the hangar doors opened. The Jellyfish floated in, looking none the worse for wear after its incredible journey. Its hull shimmered with a soft, pulsing light, almost as if it was alive. The crowd gasped. Seeing the ship up close after its performance was awe-inspiring. Even aliens who had mocked it before now looked at it with respect and wonder. Sarah and her team walked up to their ship, running their hands over its hull. "Good job, old girl," Mike whispered, patting the ship affectionately. Suddenly, there was a commotion at the other end of the hall. The Zorkath ship had returned, but something was wrong. Smoke was pouring from its engines, and its once shiny hull was scorched and dented. Zaxlor stumbled out of his ship, his purple face now a sickly shade of lavender. He looked dazed and angry. This is impossible," he sputtered, pointing at the human ship. "You cheated. There's no way that pile of junk could be our advanced technology." The crowd fell silent, watching the drama unfold. Sarah stepped forward, her face serious but calm. "We didn't cheat, Zaxlor," she said firmly. "Our ship performed exactly as it was designed to. The race was fair." Xinta, the head organizer, floated between them. "The human ship's performance has been verified," he announced. "There was no cheating. The victory stands." Zaxlor's antenna drooped in defeat, but then something unexpected happened. An older Zorkath, his purple skin wrinkled with age, stepped forward from their team. "Zaxlor, enough," he said, his voice gravelly but kind. "We have much to learn from these humans." The older Zorkath turned to Sarah, bowing slightly. "I am Zektor, chief engineer of the Zorkath fleet. Your ship, it's unlike anything I've seen in my 300 years of space travel. Would you be willing to share your knowledge with us?" Sarah blinked in surprise, then smiled warmly. "Of course," she said. "That's why we came to this expo, to share ideas and learn from each other." This seemed to break the tension in the room. Suddenly, representatives from other alien races were stepping forward, all eager to learn about the human ship's technology. "The way your ship adapted to the gravitational anomalies was incredible," a squid-like alien gurgled. "And using radiation as an energy source. Brilliant," chirped a bird-like being. As Sarah and her team began explaining their technology, something amazing happened. Aliens who had been competitors just hours ago were now working together, sharing ideas and discussing possibilities. Sinta watched all this with a twinkle in his multifaceted eyes. He floated over to Sarah, who was in the middle of explaining the ship's biomimicry principles to a group of fascinated aliens. "Dr. Chen," he said, his voice filled with respect, "I believe your ship has done more than win a race today. You've started a revolution in space travel." Sarah looked around the room, seeing aliens of all kinds working together, inspired by human innovation. She felt a lump in her throat. "We never expected this," she said softly. "We just wanted to show that there are different ways to solve problems." Sinta nodded wisely. "And in doing so, you've united the galaxy in a way I've never seen before. This is a turning point in our history." As the day went on, the excitement didn't die down. Aliens were sketching new ship designs, inspired by the jellyfish. Others were running simulations, trying to understand how the human ship had performed so well. Even Zaxlor, after his initial anger, was seen talking animatedly with Mike about engine designs. Sarah stood back, watching it all with a sense of wonder. They had come to the expo hoping to learn from alien technology. Instead, they had taught the galaxy a valuable lesson. Sometimes, the best solutions come from unexpected places. As the Earth's sun set on another day, casting a warm glow through the expo hall's windows, Sarah knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy had changed, and humanity was at the forefront of a new era of space exploration. The future, it seemed, was full of endless possibilities. As the excitement from the race began to settle, a new challenge emerged. The Galactic Ship Expo was coming to an end, and the organizers had planned a grand final, a deep space rescue mission simulation. Dr. Sarah Chen and her team were busy preparing the jellyfish for this final test when an alarm blared through the expo hall. Sinta's voice crackled over the speakers, urgency in his tone. "Attention all participants. This is not a drill. We've received a distress signal from a real ship in trouble. It's stuck in a dangerous nebula not far from here. We need volunteers for a rescue mission." The hall fell silent for a moment, then erupted into chaos. Alien species argued among themselves, unsure if their ships could handle such a risky mission. Sarah looked at her team. They nodded silently, determination in their eyes. "We'll go," Sarah announced, her voice cutting through the noise. Sinta's eyes widened in surprise. "Are you sure, Dr. Chen? Your ship has already been through a lot today." Sarah smiled confidently. "That's exactly why we're the best choice. Jellyfish was built for situations like this." As the human team prepared for launch, they were surprised to see Zaxlor approaching them. The Zorkath leader looked uncomfortable but determined. We would like to join you," he said, his antenna twitching nervously. "Our ship may not be as adaptable as yours, but it's powerful. We want to help." Sarah's smile widened. "We'd be honored to work with you, Zaxlor." And so, in a twist that shocked the galaxy, the human ship Jellyfish and the Zorkath battlecruiser launched together on a rescue mission. The journey to the nebula was tense. The swirling gases and unpredictable energy bursts made navigation extremely difficult. The Zorkath ship's powerful sensors helped guide them through the chaos, while Jellyfish's adaptive hull protected both ships from the nebula's corrosive effects. As they penetrated deeper into the nebula, they finally spotted the stranded ship. It was an old freighter, its hull corroded by the nebula's gases. Life support was failing, and the crew was in desperate need of help. But there was a problem. The energy bursts in the nebula were too intense near the freighter. The Zorkath ship couldn't get close enough without risking its own systems. "We'll have to turn back," Zaxlor said reluctantly. "It's too dangerous." But Sarah had an idea. "Not yet," she said. "Jellyfish can handle it. We'll go in and attach a tow cable. Your ship can then pull us all out together." Zaxlor looked skeptical, but nodded. "Be careful," he said, surprising himself with his concern for the humans. Jellyfish moved forward, its hull rippling and changing color to adapt to the harsh environment. The energy bursts crackled around it, but the ship pressed on. Inside, Sarah and her team worked furiously. "Hull integrity at 80% and holding," Mike reported. "We can do this." With a final push, Jellyfish reached the freighter. The crew cheered as they successfully attached the tow cable. "We're ready," Sarah called to the Zorkath ship. "Pull us out." The Zorkath battlecruiser's engines roared to life. Slowly but surely, it began to pull both Jellyfish and the stranded freighter out of the nebula. The journey back was tense. Jellyfish's hull was strained to its limits, protecting both itself and the damaged freighter. The Zorkath ship's engines were pushed to their maximum power. But together, they did it. As they emerged from the nebula, the expo hall erupted into cheers. The rescue mission was a success. As the ships docked, the rescued crew of the freighter couldn't stop thanking the humans and the Zorkath. Shinta floated up, his eyes shining with emotion. "This," he announced to the gathered crowd, "is what the Galactic Ship Expo is truly about. Not just showcasing technology, but using it to help others. The human ship Jellyfish and the Zorkath battlecruiser have shown us the power of cooperation." Sarah and Zaxlor stood side by side, tired but proud. They looked at each other and, for the first time, shared a genuine smile. "Your ship is quite impressive for a jellyfish," Zaxlor admitted grudgingly. Sarah laughed. "And your ship is pretty adaptable for a battlecruiser," she replied. As news of the dramatic rescue spread across the galaxy, something remarkable happened. The story of the human ship and its wild design, once mocked, was now being told with awe and respect. The image of Jellyfish and the Zorkath ship working together became a symbol of galactic cooperation. The Galactic Ship Expo had turned into something much more than a simple exhibition. It had become the starting point of a new era, one where different species and technologies worked together, learning from each other and pushing the boundaries of what was possible in space exploration. And at the center of it all was a strange, jellyfish-like ship that had changed the galaxy's view of humanity forever. The final day of the Galactic Ship Expo dawned, but it felt like the beginning of something new. The expo hall buzzed with excitement. Aliens of all species gathered, eager to hear the closing ceremony speeches. Dr. Sarah Chen and her team stood near their ship Jellyfish. The once-mocked vessel now drew admiring looks from passersby. Sarah couldn't help but smile, remembering how far they'd come in just a few days. Sinta floated onto the stage, his many eyes twinkling. The hall fell silent as he began to speak. "Friends, colleagues, beings of all worlds," he said, his voice echoing through the hall. "This Galactic Ship Expo has been unlike any other in our history." He gestured towards the human team. "We came expecting to see new technologies. Instead, we witnessed a revolution in how we think about space travel." Sarah felt a lump in her throat as Sinta continued. "The human ship, Jellyfish, showed us that sometimes the most effective solutions don't come from brute force or conventional thinking. They come from observing nature, from adapting, from thinking differently. The crowd murmured in agreement. Many aliens nodded, some even applauded. But more than that, Shinta went on, we saw the power of cooperation. The joint rescue mission by the humans and the Zorkath proved that when we work together, we can achieve the impossible. Zaxlor, standing with his team, stood a little straighter at these words. He caught Sarah's eye and gave a small nod of respect. Therefore, Shinta announced, it gives me great pleasure to present this year's Galactic Innovation Award to the human team and their ship, Jellyfish. The hall erupted in cheers. Sarah and her team looked at each other in shock. They hadn't even known there was an award. As they made their way to the stage, aliens reached out to pat them on the back, or shake their hands, or tentacles, or pincers. The atmosphere was electric. Sarah accepted the award, a beautiful crystal sculpture that seemed to change shape as you looked at it, much like jellyfish itself. Her hands trembled slightly as she stepped up to the microphone. Thank you, she said, her voice thick with emotion. We came here hoping to learn from you all. We never imagined we'd end up teaching something too. She looked out at the sea of alien faces, all watching her intently. But that's the beauty of the universe, isn't it? There's always something new to discover, always a different way of looking at things. Sarah held up the award. This doesn't just belong to us. It belongs to everyone here who was willing to open their minds to new ideas, to everyone who showed us that cooperation is the true key to advancing in space. The applause was deafening, but Shinta wasn't finished. He raised his appendages for silence. In recognition of the groundbreaking design of Jellyfish and the spirit of innovation it represents, we have one more announcement, he said. We are creating a new division within the Galactic Ship Design Committee, focused on biomimicry and adaptive technologies in space travel. He turned to Sarah. Dr. Chen, we would be honored if you and your team would lead this new division. Sarah's jaw dropped. This was beyond anything they had ever dreamed of. She looked at her team, saw the excitement in their eyes, and knew there was only one answer. We would be delighted, she said, her voice strong and clear. The ceremony concluded with representatives from various alien races lining up to speak with the human team. Some offered congratulations, others wanted to discuss potential collaborations. A few even asked if they could intern with the humans to learn more about their design process. As the day wound down, Sarah found a quiet moment with her team near Jellyfish. They looked at their ship, then at each other, grins spreading across their faces. We did it, Mike said, shaking his head in disbelief. We really did it. Sarah nodded, feeling a mix of pride, excitement, and a touch of nervousness about the challenges ahead. We sure did. But this is just the beginning. She placed her hand on Jellyfish's hull, feeling the slight pulse of its adaptive systems. There's a whole galaxy out there, full of problems to solve and wonders to discover, and we're going to face it all with open minds and wild ideas. As the Earth's sun set on the final day of the expo, casting a warm glow through the hall's windows, the human team stood together, ready to embark on their next great adventure. They had come to the Galactic Ship Expo as outsiders with a strange ship. They were leaving as pioneers, set to lead the galaxy into a new era of space exploration. All because they dared to think differently, to design a ship that looked more like a jellyfish than a battlecruiser. In doing so, they hadn't just stunned the galaxy, they had changed it forever.